I'm Lisa, and I'm the mom half of this duo.
And I'm Shada. I'm Lisa's daughter. And welcome to Two Peas in a Plot, our little corner of the internet where we talk all things books.
We read across genres and love everything from underrated gems to longtime favorites.
And just a quick heads up while we try to avoid spoilers, we do talk about what we liked or didn't. So there might be a few light spoilers along the way just to give you some context.
So if you love stories and want to grow your TBR, hit that subscribe button and join the plot. Hello, everyone. Today's book is The Gales of November, The Untold Story of Edmund Fitzgerald by John U. Bacon. This was published in 2025. I was so excited because I tagged this in my library to get a copy. They didn't have a copy yet, and I was the first one to borrow it. I don't know why that was so thrilling to me. I got the hardback. It came with pictures and maps. Anyway, before we go into the book, I'm going to give a lightning round to Shada. So, quick answers only. So, stormy weather on the water, thrilling or terrifying?
Terrifying.
Would you rather be on a ship in a storm or a plane in a turbulence?
Oh, plane in turbulence because pilots can drive through, or I guess fly through turbulence.
Yeah, and it's not supposed to be a big deal, even, and
Yeah,
we're more familiar with it.
yeah,
I'm really, I love water, but I'm very fearful of us being on the
yeah, me
water in a
too.
storm. So, Great Lakes, beautiful getaway or quietly dangerous?
Maybe both. I've never been there,
I haven't
but I
either.
know they're huge. They basically function like oceans. Like if something goes wrong and you're in the middle of one, it's like you're in the middle of the ocean.
And I didn't know that. To me, a lake is supposed to be small.
Yeah, but
To
I mean,
me.
you can see them from space, so they're
Wow.
huge.
Yeah. Which sounds tougher, working at sea or working outdoors in winter?
Probably working out at sea, if I can speak correctly. Also, I remember you used to watch Deadliest Catch,
Yeah, I love that.
and that's working outdoors in winter at sea.
And it's you can't get your footing necessarily. You're
Yeah.
being rocked. You don't have the steadiness of land. Okay, big waves. Watch from the shore or nope, I'm staying inside.
Uh, it depends on how big. I think I should stay inside, but if I can watch from the shore, maybe.
Yeah, I would like to watch from the shore as long as it doesn't come near me or touch
Yeah.
me. Alrighty. So that leads into our book. It tells the story, which I never knew about. I'm not from the Great Lakes, obviously. The the book tells the story of the storm of the century, evidently hitting the Edmund Fitzgerald, which is a ship. It's one of those big cargo ships. And in the book, you also learn about the Great Lakes shipping, which I didn't really know about or think about. I didn't know shipping was in the Great Lakes, to be honest with you. I was really surprised because I watched on YouTube, they had this big cargo ship, and someone, for lack of a better word, videotapes, like days in fast motion, you know, uh, the course of maybe 30 days in like
Oh, like a time
15 minutes.
lapse?
Yeah, that thing. And it's really fascinating, but I was hoping for some more weather, but they tell you how it was built and the accommodations and how they got the best crew. And more importantly, you will learn about the 29 people that were lost and a little about the families that they left behind. The author, to me, John Bacon, writes the story so effortlessly to read. I wish history books in general could be written like this because I do love history and I really like weather. I know this sounds awful, not to belittle anyone who's lost their lives in any sort of weather related thing that happened to them, but the tsunami that happened, I never knew about tsunamis until that famous one in, I believe it was Japan, and just how it occurs.
Yeah.
I think it's like an earthquake out in the ocean.
Yeah, and it just hits exactly right or exactly wrong
Right.
to caused that wave.
It's it's I now understand that saying Mother Nature, wreaks havoc or whatever it is. I mean, Mother Nature is unbelievable. Anyway, I was so surprised that this type of weather could happen in the Great Lakes because to me, my thought process never been up there. Didn't realize how large it was, and that this shipping, I think it's still going on, I assume. But the book also includes maps of the Great Lakes, the routes that the ship took normally, and what route it took the day of the approaching storm. It also lets you know what the ships have now in their radar system. It's more up to date. If they would have known what was occurring, they would have never left, or they could have hunkered down somewhere. It's just, it was like a bunch of different things happened to this poor ship. And the way I think they were taken on water. Anyway, it's really interesting. And it's like a good history about these men who were, it's all fascinating how they lived their lives and how hard they worked and had to get along. And this was their last, I think, I don't know how you say it, had their last run before they were going to retire, not retire the ship, but set the ship aside to get work done. And then they would have an early vacation. So they would have more months off with their families. But you learn so much. And even though you're reading about these 29 men aboard the Fitzgerald, and at one point you have to say goodbye, I treasured the time I had with them and getting to know what they did on the ship, their families, and their life before they passed away on November 10th, 1975. It was just a really good read. I think sometimes, how in English you have required reading. I think history should have like give you a selection of required reading just so you learn about different things, either in the US or the world or wherever your interests lie. I think it'd be totally fascinating, although I was out of school by that time, but I don't know. It's just
No, I think
really,
that would be great because we were just talking to my little brother on Christmas, and he was talking about how school just ruined reading for him
yeah,
because of the required reading. And I think if you have some choice, and I think that's a great idea for history too. Here is a
yeah.
selection of history books that you could read.
And if you can't find your interest, maybe like I don't know, I think some people were asking, how do you get your children to read? Or teachers, ask, well, they first ask the question, what do you like to watch on TV? And I know a lot of kids more are into the gaming, but you're a gamer and there are books that could relate to gaming
Well,
that
I
might
love
interest them.
fantasy and sci-fi games. What do I read? Fantasy and sci-fi.
Hmm.
But there's also, speaking of gaming, there's a whole genre called lit RPG. It's literature where lit comes from, but based in like a game world. Usually the character gets sucked into a game somehow. So there is like specifically for gaming. I have never read that genre, but yeah, there's something out there for everyone,
Yeah,
especially now that the publishing industry has expanded so much with indie publishing.
right.
You can find anything, and I think it's a shame that some people are just turned off. Although I have learned that I think Gen Z and Gen Alpha are becoming bigger readers, but
Mm,
millennials, like my cohort, we are the biggest readers right now. And I think we're slightly larger because most of our parents are boomers.
yeah.
So that cohort is really big. So then they give birth to lots of children. So our cohort is really big. But yeah, apparently we read a lot.
Hmm, that's interesting. Yeah, and I think sometimes even if you're in high school, I think, there's so many different type of middle grade books. I think you should be required to read a
Oh,
middle
yeah.
grade
I
book.
think everyone should read, no matter how old you are. I think
Yeah,
middle grade books are
they're Fascinating. I
Yeah.
don't know. They're just lovely. I love them. I'm getting itchy to read one soon. So a few questions for you. What does the word gales make you picture? Weather, danger, or something emotional?
Oh, it's weather, like gale force
Yeah.
winds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't, I guess the gales of November, all I could think of was, I think they were saying this was like hurricane speed, 100 miles per hour wind. And not only that, the waves were so, so high because one ship had to turn around and go and look for them because they were supposed to meet up with them and help them navigate to the port, and they couldn't find them.
That is terrifying.
So I don't know if it's a Coast Guard, but someone made him go back out, and the captain said, I'm afraid. I don't want to go back out. He did go back out, but what they were afraid of is they eventually have to turn around in those big, large waves, and because they're so long and awkward, they were afraid. They call it something, I forget, but turning over in the water. But once they knew they were turned around, they could all, sigh of relief, but they didn't find, I think they found maybe some sort of item from a ship, but they didn't find the ship at all, obviously. Okay, going on. What comes to mind when you think about life on the Great Lakes? Peaceful or risky? Now,
Well, I guess is it like, are you on it?
yeah,
Or
I
like,
was maybe
or
surrounding areas because
yeah.
you're not going to be, well, I guess you would be on it if you're on a ship.
Well, yeah, if your lifestyle is working on the Great Lakes, that would be dangerous. If
Yeah.
I don't know because we talked a little bit about tsunamis earlier. I don't know that the Great Lakes, I would assume that the areas really like coastal to the Great Lakes would be potentially prone to
Mhm.
flooding and like a rogue wave, but um oh, the tsunami I remember though was the first one was in 2004, I think, and it was in the Indian Ocean and it hit
Oh,
that was way more devastating than the Japanese, although the
really?
Japanese one was really, really devastating. So,
Yeah.
and listeners, I apologize again for my voice. My allergies are just forever bad. So, um, yeah, I think though, it sounds very peaceful, but I think it's kind of cold up there because it
Yeah.
borders Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I'd say peaceful as long as you're not physically on the water.
Yeah. I think before I read this book, I would have said peaceful, not risky at all. I'm like, it's a lake. Didn't realize the enormity of the Great Lakes. And do you think people today really understand how dangerous shipping and sailing can be?
I don't know. I think we've kind of branched out and read, um, like we read The Wager, which was obviously, centuries ago, so the technology was different. So that's way, way more dangerous. But I know it can be just as dangerous now, even with modern technology. So I think we have a unique insight into shipping. And like I said, you watched The Deadliest Catch for
Yeah.
years. So I know you had like this insider's view into it. But I think it's also it's so embedded into our different industries. Like we wouldn't have seafood without
Mm-hmm.
shipping. We wouldn't have a lot of international trade without shipping. So it's very normal and run of the mill, and so I think that lends a false sense of safety to it. And I think it is overall a lot safer than it was in,
Yeah.
1690. But yeah, I think it's still one of those high risk industries or jobs that you can have.
I think it took the Edmund Fitzgerald to have this, you know, catastrophe and that people started really rethinking of building a ship and what it needed. Um, I think they did the Edmund Fitzgerald a little different, and I don't know if that weakened it. I know one of the descriptions in the book, there's tunnels underground to get from one end to the not underground. under
under the
below the
ship,
ship, below the ship. Uh,
the deck.
Thank you. I couldn't find the
Eh.
word. And it runs from one end to the other. So if it's really, really cold or the weather is bad, they go through these tunnels. And there was one point, I guess they were going up in a wave, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and they couldn't see it. I mean, the ship bends so much. And it's good to bend so much, but I guess when you have cargo and these waves that come in, it really talks about how the ship can
So it
break
just
in
got
two.
ripped apart by those
It
competing
got,
forces.
I think divers went down and they showed that I mean, it's not giving anything away really if you knew about it, but how it broke, and it did show it in two different pieces. So
Yeah,
it
I
broke in the middle, I think.
I think that a lot of high rises are built to sway a little
Mhm.
bit, even if you're not in a I was going to say hurricane prone. That's not right. In an earthquake prone area,
Yeah,
they're designed to move a little bit like with the ambient wind, or if you are in an earthquake prone zone, that they move a little bit so they don't collapse. But
right. Or
that's very
crack.
that's very interesting.
I don't know if we can answer this, but it does make you think about what kind of person would it take to work on a ship in storm conditions. But they're not always going out in storm conditions. They just like the atmosphere, the people, just being out on a ship. Some people don't want to be in an office, they want to be out working in the field. I don't really know how to describe someone that really likes, being on a
Yeah.
ship.
I think I could be several different types of people would fit into that. Like maybe if your family has always been a
Yeah.
shipping family, or I know that a lot of these jobs that are riskier, they pay really well. Maybe
Hmm.
you're like, well, I could do, and then I think there's like a shipping season. Although cargo, I'm thinking of Deadliest Catch where you're farming essentially for
Right.
so, but it seems like most shipping has a season. Like
Hmm.
even if it's constant, like with materials shipping,
Right.
you you're on a ship for 8 months and then you can have the rest of the year off. That
Yeah.
sounds great. It's like teaching, except it's arguably scarier than teaching, although teaching,
Teaching's scary a different
I,
way.
yeah, I would rather be on a ship than
Yeah.
teaching personally.
I think they had a couple of months off, but they were out maybe 8 months, 8 to 9 months. And this time they were going to have more months with their family just because the Edmund Fitzgerald ship was going to go in for some major not upgrades, but just
Like maintenance.
yeah, thank you, maintenance. We could both talk about this, but it says, have you ever experienced, the question is, have you ever experienced a storm or weather moment that felt truly unforgettable?
Ooh, I know exactly what we are both gonna say.
Right.
Yeah. And what was it, 2021? I think
I
it was 2021.
don't remember. Yeah.
Because I remember thinking 2020 was the beginning of the pandemic, and then I felt like 2021 was like, "Whoa, hold my beer. I'll show you something." And yeah, we're in Texas, and when the power grid went down, or ERCOT took it down so it wouldn't be totally busted for, I guess, months on end, um, we were like frozen without power, and in some cases water. Luckily, I think we both had water, but we didn't have
Yeah.
power for
We didn't
days.
have electricity. Our transformer blew across the street, so there were four houses on our street. To We
Well, the
were right
power
across from each other.
when the power came back on,
Yeah.
you guys didn't get any because your transformer blew.
And we couldn't tell everyone else had power because it was daytime. So we were going through oh, it's just miserable. I was so cold. Luckily, we had these things called comfies. That saved me.
Yeah,
And just bundled up.
I was super bundled up, but I had to give Vincent a lot of my robes and things because he didn't have a comfy.
Yeah.
back then. And then after that, once we had power again, I we ordered him one
Yeah.
because yeah,
Those
it
are
was just
awesome.
yeah, it was
Really
fantastic.
almost too warm. I hardly ever wear it. I used to go sit outside. Previous dog we had, she didn't want you playing with her, but she liked you watching her play outside. She just wanted a buddy. So I would sit outside in the cold, but I'd get my comfy on and sit out there and watch her play, run around in the backyard.
Speaking of which, I don't know, maybe I just need to go outside somewhere when it's really, really cold, but all of my sinus issues and my allergies would I may have almost frozen to death
Mm-hmm.
during the ice storm, but or I guess it was a snowstorm. I don't really know. It had a name. It was actually named. You know how
Oh,
hurricanes have names?
yeah.
I don't remember what
I
it
don't,
was called though. But um, all of my sinus issues went away. I was frozen,
yeah.
but I could breathe. That
It's
was
something
it.
about for me when the heat comes on and then
Yeah.
outside, everything's frozen that can give you any allergies.
Yeah, when the power finally came back on and we turned the heat on, it was only 55 degrees in the house, but I got a heat rash because
Yeah.
we had been so cold for so long. And I got the worst headache and the
Mm,
worst um, drainage. It was awful.
yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm glad the heat's back on, but my body is like, what are you doing? I just got used to being at a little icicle.
It was
Yeah,
something else.
that was horrifying. That
That
was
was
the worst
funny.
weather event.
We can laugh about it now, but I actually had a friend that I went to high school with from another state, and we don't keep in contact that much. But, if I were to pick up the phone, we'd talk like it was just yesterday. But I think she called me or reached out and she goes, "Are you part of this freeze?" I said, "Yeah, everybody in the
The
state."
whole
The
state.
whole state shut down. I mean, I don't think I was working from home from that
Yeah, you
time. Or
were.
I was, but I didn't work from home. I mean, we
Oh
were
no, I couldn't
working.
either. I was like, everything's down.
Yeah.
And we can't in Texas, no one drives in the snow. I mean, the whole thing was just shut down.
It was,
Although I was really close to the downtown area in the city that we lived
mhm.
in. And of course, because they have hospitals and things that are on the power grid. So I
Yeah.
could see from my window
Oh,
power. And I think some people actually went into the office because I think it had power.
oh,
But
well,
just
I was too
yeah.
far away.
Oh yeah.
Even though you were closer, it's just too risky because
Yeah.
it's like black ice, or that's what they call it. Well, that's all I have for the book today. It was really, really interesting. I loved hearing about, the men who lost their lives on the ship, but then it carries on to Gordon Lightfoot making a song about what happened and being respectful about the family and their reunions together. So it goes on after, and it takes a long time to build up to, so it's not just centered around the catastrophe, basically. It's getting to know the people who got on the ship, and some of them were replacements, and then at the last minute, they were taken off the ship. And so it's interesting to hear their story about not being one of the ones that died. And they were kind of mad at first that they got replaced and they had to go on a different ship. But it's just an interesting book to read, and the author told the story very well. I really recommend this. It's very good. So, well, that's all we have for you today. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Thanks for being here and talking books with us.
And if you love stories and want to grow your TBR, hit that subscribe button and join the plot with us. And we'll see you in the next chapter. Bye, y'all.
Bye bye.